the Midnight Society. How were they never caught? How did their parents never turn up and go, what the f*** are you kids doing? Get the f*** home. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's Jim here, and it's going to be a bit different video from what you're used to on the channel, but I did actually do a video a while back rewatching Power Rangers as an adult and my thoughts on it as an adult, and the video did pretty well. So it's not movie stuff, but it is kind of what people seem to like that video, so I thought I'd do another one, rewatching another children's TV show that I grew up with. You know, just giving kind of a fresh, kind of different video. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, we'll go back to movie stuff in the next one. So Are You Afraid of the Dark was a series that started in 1990, ran originally to 1996 and then was rebooted in the 2000s. I'm talking about the original run of the series, 1990 to 1996 on Nickelodeon. I really remember this show, guys. It is one of the shows that is ingrained in my memory most. This show is so distinct to Goosebumps, and I actually think this show is a lot better than Goosebumps. I think it's a lot more ballsy, ambitious, scary, and going back to it as an adult, I was surprised how well it holds up. So I went back and watched loads of the show, like not every episode, I haven't watched every episode, but early episodes, mid episodes, and late episodes. So I'm kind of, in that original run, I know, you know, I've refreshed myself on the show, and it was a really, really great experience. So of course the concept of the show revolves around a group of teenagers who go out into the middle of the woods, middle of the bloody night, never caught by their parents ever, on their own. This would never happen. This would never work. The parents would storm in there. How did they never get caught? If I was writing it, I'd just make them get caught like one time, just for a laugh. So they gather, with no one knowing, secret place in the woods, and tell scary stories around the campfire. Now this reminds me of growing up as a kid, where we'd tell each other ghost stories, and reading ghost books, as a kid, and being fascinated by the paranormal. And then you grow up and you get a little bit more cynical. But back here, like urban legends, ghosts, it was also, it hit you really hard, or at least it hit me really hard, and you really were affected by other kids' stories and other kids' tales and other kids' embellishments of what they got up to, and ghost stories of their own, and urban legends, local urban legends. Nowadays, kids are not telling scary stories to each other. I don't know what they're doing. They're just phone. Just, that's it. This is a lost time, and I love the concept of this show because it reminds you of what kids used to do, folks. Although it probably would have been more safer for these kids to have a sleepover where they told each other scary stories, not go out into the woods in the middle of the bloody night on your own. This was back when kids' TV could be scary. Like, think of the intro of the show. It's bloody scary. Like, Goosebumps is a better intro because that song is just fabulous. But this intro, it sets the tone for what Are You Afraid of the Dark is. It's not a show that compromises. So the kids would of course gather around the campfire, and then their story would be enacted out by actors. And in Midnight Society, they're actually pretty good young actors, and I like the banter that they had. I like that little group that they had, and I like how every time they would throw the dust on the fire and announce the name of their story.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, I call this story The Tale of Laughing in the Dark.
They did start to change and replace the kids from like series 4, I think it was 4 or 5 onwards, because obviously the kids aged out. But you know what? Even the kids they replaced them with, I've generally thought Are You Afraid of the Dark would have got worse as it went on. And I do prefer the early series, but I don't feel like this got worse as it went on. I was surprised how much the show holds up with the new Midnight Society, with the later seasons of the stories. It does not show it deteriorates. I enjoyed all the early ones I watched and all the late ones I watched. The themes of the stories were it's kind of a kid's version of Tales from the Dark Side or Tales from the Crypt, but focus on a kid's life. So I enjoyed that, because looking back, the stories are kind of focused on a kid who wants to get popular, who wants to get the girl, who's going through some of the struggles that you have in high school, and then something sinister and scary happens. But the story kind of can go along with having a moral message as well, which I enjoyed. The shows weren't just meaningless. So let's talk about some specific episodes that I still think are brilliant. Tale of the Whispering Walls from season 1. bloody terrifying. This could be up there with a horror film, guys. This is like kids' TV, but it's bloody scary. So these kids and their babysitter end up in the middle of nowhere, and they just find this tavern where these literal ghosts are. And then they meet this really, really weird looking guy. Almost a Tim Curry vibe to him, but Tim Curry, eat your heart out. The costume, the aesthetic, everything about this guy just looks sketchy and looks terrifying.
You've strayed quite far. But I know a shortcut. Take the dirt road outside. It travels through the woods and will cut miles off your trip. Anything else I can do for you?
And you know, you find out that there's something's not quite right with his house and the other ghosts, and that he might be, you know, keeping these other ghosts hostage. It's so disturbing, his performance. And what I like about You're Afraid of the Dark is they never shied away from having the scary, scary actors who really did put their all into being creepy. It's a really tense episode that goes really far with the scares. This guy's house is nightmarish. There's a really memorable moment which still hit me just as hard as it did as a kid, and I remembered this.
What you made me do now, dork?
That still disturbs me to this day. Really, really does. It's just an odd episode, and I like how You're Afraid of the Dark focused on the odd, because I feel like oddness can be just as scary as monsters and ghosts and this and that. Just odd quirkiness, not knowing what's going on, can be just as scary. The Tale of the Doll Maker was another one I watched, which I remember as a kid. It's a very, very sad and sweet one. So basically this girl finds a missing girl who's been imprisoned in a dollhouse, and she has to find a way of getting her out of the dollhouse, and she's been kind of turned into a doll herself. That was a really, really tragic episode. You really, really felt for the little girl, and you really rooted for the main character to get her out of there. But you know, such a disturbing premise. You know, basically her body has become a doll, so it's just solid, you know, and just all you see is the sadness in her eyes as a doll. And that, you know, but that episode has a really, really nice message to it. It, you know, it unfolds really nice. It has a nice ending. Some of these episodes had nice endings. Another early episode I liked is Tale of the Lonely Ghost, which has another scene from my childhood embedded in my brain. I remembered this scene like yesterday, where basically it's a story of a lonely ghost, pretty much, who's trying to be reunited with one of her family members. And the girl finds her in a room, and this little girl ghost, to this day, that I can't believe they put that on kids' TV.
It's backwards. Help me?
Like when I was a kid, I properly believed in ghosts, like fully and completely. Grown up and become a bit more sceptical, and it still scared me. Can you imagine me back then? I don't think I would have slept that night. The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner was another great mid-show one. Basically about this kid's obsession with comic books coming back to haunt him, and this terrifying comic book character comes to life. He's one of the scariest monsters in the series. Look at this bastard. Look at the state of him. Terrifying. You know, if you'd have shown me these scenes and then said, this is a 15 certificate horror film for adults, I'd believe you. They don't compromise here. This guy is terrifying. He's one of the scariest You're Afraid of the Dark villains. Just because he's kind of the Joker-esque vibe, he's completely out of control and he's completely in your face. He just looks terrifying and he keeps coming. Tale of the Super Specs is another one, and I think this is one of the most ambitious episodes in the whole series. Basically, this girl gets some specs where she can see beings from other dimensions, And they are terrifying because they're literally just black figures, you know. And I remember as a kid, I genuinely was terrified of this episode because I would always read about black figures, black figure ghosts, you know, the kind of shadow people. And this has them, but they're interdimensional beings. And there are just some scenes in this episode where these black figures are just looming in on this girl. And it's terrifying. But it's also a very ambitious episode to kind of explore the realms of dimensions in a kids show. The Tale of the Laughing in the Dark was an early one which most people remember the show for, really. Basically, this kid wants to prove that he's not scared of this clown in this fairground, and then he ends up getting stalked by the clown. The clown says, "You're not scared of me, just you wait, boy." This episode gave the show a reputation of being pretty bloody scary because this clown subtly stalks this boy, you know, leaves his red nose for him to find, and just leaves him little notes. You don't really see the clown stalk him, and then you finally do at the end. And I'll tell you what, Pennywise, eat your heart out. Zebo from Are You Afraid of the Dark is the clown that I fear. Also has a nice little message about don't brag, don't try and lord yourself over your friends as a kid, because it can come back to bite you in the form of a gigantic clown. Tale of the Captured Souls is another early one which I absolutely love, and another one again ingrained in my brain. It's so great to go back to these shows and remember, you know, and that shows that they made an impact on you. They really, really did. This is basically this tale of this kid and her family who are going to stay with this really, really creepy lad. That's what he is. He's a really creepy lad. This actor, I tell you, I don't know where they found him. He's bloody scary. Like, I remember as a kid, this kid disturbed me. He puts the Children of the Corn to shame, honestly. He's one of the scariest young actors. Just everything about him, just such an unsettling vibe with his character.
Hello, Danielle. I didn't mean to startle you.
You didn't. I mean, this your wall.
What do you think of my room?
You live here all summer? By yourself?
Possibly longer.
We never know what he's getting up to, but he's getting up to something. He has plans for this little girl and her family, but we don't know. The mystery of this episode is so good. The intrigue, the suspense of the episode, the kind of just undertone of disturbing unpredictability with his character is the strength of this episode. And then when we do find out what he's doing, it's actually a really ambitious, crazy idea that you wouldn't imagine. It's a really, really well done episode. Another one from later on is The Tale of the Secret Admirer. You know, and this show did not collapse later on because this is just as good as anything in the whole show. It really is. It's really well written. Basically, this wallflower girl falls in love with this kind of football player guy. She's trying to impress him. She's trying to fit in. She's trying to be, you know, what she isn't really. And then she starts getting messages and stalked by a secret admirer who appears to be a ghost. We don't know. But there is one moment where she's obviously getting notes, and then she goes in the toilet and she's washing her hands and she looks up at the mirror. I know it's the conventional scare that we get in every horror film and every horror TV show, but I think it was so, like, just the look of the character. I was not expecting that. I didn't see this episode as a kid, so for this to affect me as much as an adult first time seeing it, it's quite impressive. He was a scary bugger. And the last one I want to talk about is The Tale of the Last Dance, which is another later on episode. There are some great later on Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. This is basically about a girl who plays violin. Her boyfriend doesn't appreciate it. Her boyfriend doesn't understand why she does it. And there's basically this hunchback who lives at the top of the school in the vents, who does appreciate it and is secretly in love with this girl. Basically a take on kind of Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Beauty and the Beast, all rolled into one. There's a real fairy tale feeling to this episode. I just love the whole structure of the episode. It is such a bloody weird concept, and I love the ambition behind it. I love the idea of this odd guy living at the top of the school. What the hell's been going on there then? And you know, the actor who plays him and the actor who plays the girl, they build quite a nice connection because he doesn't want to hurt her. He just wants to hear her play. He's obsessed with her playing. And you know, it's such a bizarre setup, but the performances are good and you buy into it, and there's kind of a slight sweetness, a slight charm, as well as the disturbing nature of it. This show is wonderful, guys. You know, I had a ball going back to it. If you're a 90s kid, you must love Are You Afraid of the Dark? You know, I feel like it's just better than Goosebumps. Goosebumps, I feel like it's just throwing silly stuff out there and it's not even really that scary, whereas this actually has the concept of the Midnight Society. It just really captures the feeling of being a kid, this show. And, you know, the wide-eyed intrigue of being a kid and that interest in the paranormal, which, to be honest, hasn't left me as an adult. How sad. But yeah, what did you think of Are You Afraid of the Dark, guys? Did you watch it growing up? And what are some of your favourite episodes? I'd love to talk about some of them in the comments. There is an Are You Afraid of the Dark YouTube channel with all the episodes up. That's how I saw it. Go and check it out. It's all there. I will be going back to talking about movies regularly from the next video. But you know, if this video does well, I might do another video where I talk about rewatching a childhood show as an adult, because I did the Power Rangers one and it was fairly well received, so we'll see how this one was. And you can click on that one on the screen now. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.